Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another paper crafting video tutorial. Today we're continuing our celebration of the Tim Holtz and Simon Says Stamp release coordinating dies for Tim's stamp sets. And I have made a couple of fun postage themed oversized tags that can be used for gift giving or beautiful tucked into decor. I am again pairing with some of my absolute favorite waffle flower postage collage products. These are some of the really awesome like oversized. So I envisioned this more as a tag style of project, and I am using the waffle flower nesting postage collage blocks, dies, and stencil. I'm starting, and I'm also using some of my favorite Simon Says Stamp rectangles because I didn't want to make this full A2 size, even though this could totally go on an A2 card if you don't need a tag. But I wanted to have a nice base, and I really wanted to utilize that postcard type of typical mailing border, pardon me. So I went ahead and inked that with lumberjack plaid on Nina Desert Storm cardstock. Then cleaning my stencil, pardon me, placing it over some Nina Desert Storm craft cardstock, I'm going to use the ground espresso distress oxide ink. You can use whatever you want here. I just didn't really want to use a black ink for today's project. Just something nice, deep and dark and very vintagey for sure, because we're going to grunge it all up. I ended up stenciling this. However, I will mention I did it different on the second tag. We'll talk about that here in a minute, but I stamped one of the images from the Festive collage set on that, and then I inked the edges with that same ground espresso ink. Honestly, this right here is so pretty. Now, this is going to tell you why I changed this. That craft on craft, the postage edge totally gets lost. So we are going to actually use the waffle flower rectangular die that comes in the nesting postage collage blocks. We're going to die cut that and place it on a postage edge die cut rectangle from Schoolhouse Red cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. Then I stamped the entire image again on craft cardstock, and we're coloring it in with Tim's Distress pencils. I know I talked about this in my last video, but I am obsessed with these. They actually are so easy to use. They go on really nice and creamy. You can use them with water or without. I tend to use them a lot without the additional water, just for the way I craft. A lot of times, I'll just say it, I'm not good with the watercolor type of techniques per se, especially. I can fake it with a nice embossed outline, but if I don't have a nice embossed outline, I'm not as good with that. So I am coloring all of these in, and honestly, I love the intensity of full-on color with these. So you'll notice I am coloring in my image. Now, what I want to talk about, you're probably thinking, okay, how is there a coordinating die that works with this? This has got grungy text. This has those postage cancellation marks in it. Well, this set is so unique, so clever, and honestly, I think it might be one of my favorites from this release. And it's not the first one I gravitated towards, but I think it's so cool. So the thing is, why I stamped the image first on the background and left it in that ground espresso color is because we're not die cutting any of that grungy stuff. The only thing that's going to die cut is this floral sprig. And I want to maintain those grungy, texty postcard type of elements because, of course, you guys know me. If there's some text or postage out there, I'm going to be here for it. I'm going to love that for my project. So I stamped that. That's going to be the background. We're going to die cut this with the new coordinating die, and then it's going to be popped up on that background. And because we did our background in the Nina Desert Storm, and then we're stamping and coloring on Nina Desert Storm, the results are going to be amazing. And that's really, I would encourage you, no matter what color you stamp your base on, I would probably stamp this image on the same because it's going to blend a lot better. I just find that the craft cardstock is very forgiving, and I like the kind of more vintage prim type of look you get with this, especially if you're going to do any distressing. Now, if you were going to do a little bit more of a modern vintage type of look, maybe I would change up that color, but play around with it, have fun with it. You know, you could try some gray cardstocks. There are a lot of fun things that you could do with this just by changing up some colors. So I'm using really traditional colors, mostly because I have a lot of tags. These would be beautiful tied into a package, no doubt, but I envision really tucking these into holiday displays because I really love kind of the look and feel of this. Or you could even hang them on trees, or, you know, other types of decor. If you could hang them into like some garlands or whatever. I am really loving using my paper crafting supplies for some holiday home deck type things, or even other holidays, but obviously we are full in Christmas mode here. Okay, so there I have die cut it with the coordinating die. Look how amazing that looks. Look how it looks popped over this. So now I've gone ahead, die cut that rectangle, die cut my nesting or that postage block from the Schoolhouse Red. And obviously now it's really evident that my background panel is a little too clean, even though I really love it. That's not the look I'm going for today. Don't be afraid to grunge it up. So I'm taking some Scorched Timber Distress ink around the edges, and I'm going to lay it out again and look at it. And again, I'm like, something it still needs a little bit more. First, we're going to take that scorched timber around the edges of this postcard block and grunge that up. We're not going to grunge up the red, surprisingly, but I still think my background is just not quite right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our ground espresso Distress Oxide ink, and I am going to ink over the edge, just pulling that in far enough that it kind of grunges up the red that we stenciled. It's still going to be red. We're still going to get that effect. It's not going to cover it up because I'm not using that heavy of a hand, but it's going to look amazing. Now I am going to grunge up this panel a little bit more before I start adhering all my components. I added that little cancellation mark. I've picked out several of the holiday postmarks to add to my gift tag. And at this point, again, if I can impress anything, make it your own. If you love this design, but you're like, Nicole, I do not want tags, you can put this entire thing on a card front so easily. And then I did add that other little postage cancellation mark along an edge because I liked that extra little bit of grunge. And you'll notice for both of those, I used some black ink. So now we're going to add our layered rectangles, and I'm not popping these up, and that is because we are going to pop up our floral greenery on this tag, and I didn't really want to be popping up too many things. So once we have that, I am going to piece my foam adhesive on the back of here using a combination of thin foam adhesive strips, foam adhesive squares, whatever, you know, will fit back behind the areas, but I want it to be nice and secure. Me thinking of using this going forward as, you know, home deck display, I want it to be nice and sturdy. So now that I have that, I'm going to pop it up, and I'm going to take the Simon Says Stamp hole reinforcers, and I've die cut a couple of these from black cardstock, and I like this one that has a straight edge and then it's curved. I thought it fit this really nice, and they are going to turn anything into a tag. So now I've got that glued up at the top. I'm going to let the glue dry. I want my tag to be double-sided, so we will be finishing the back of this, but we'll just finish it really easy, and it's going to add to the security of the design. But I want to finish off my tag with some additional holiday postmarks. So Handle with Care is stamped with lumberjack plaid on the Neenah Desert Storm. Special Delivery is going to be stamped with ground espresso on the Neenah Desert Storm. And all of these holiday postmarks, all of them, have coordinating dies. Even the cancellations that I added to my tag have dies that coordinate. I just didn't use them. So I love that. You can use with, without, but we just want to add to those layers. After I've die cut those, I'm going to go back to my ground espresso and we're going to ink up the edges. Again, I don't want anything looking too new, too neat. So I am grunging it all up, scorched timber along the edges of each of these. And you'll notice that I have my little seal there, the very Merry Christmas to You with Santa. He's going to be stamped and embossed on Schoolhouse Red cardstock with clear embossing ink and heat embossed with white embossing powder. It's going to look so cute. So I'm going to peel off the backing paper from my special delivery little tag there. We're going to add both of these. I am piecing my foam adhesive so that it doesn't overlap my greenery and instead maybe kind of just butts up right next to it. If it hangs off the side a little bit, the more the better. I love that kind of thing. Okay, so let's stamp, or actually let's punch our hole. I'm going to just use my crocodile. There are coordinating dies in the die set, little circles that you could die cut, but I hadn't done that, so I used my crocodile. And then I was testing, but I don't want to put this in quite yet. I just wanted to see if I thought that Tim's velvet ribbon would look good as texture, and I'm obsessed. So that's what we're going to use. That was a little tester. And I'm going to prep my Schoolhouse Red cardstock with my powder tool from Simon Says Stamp. We're going to stamp this little seal, and then we will heat emboss with white embossing powder. Now it's the only thing on my tag that is white, but I really wanted that seal to show up well. Cream embossing powder would work as if you have that. I do have that. I didn't use it. The white was out, and I don't really think it matters because I do grunge this up a little bit. And even though we buff away any of that ink on top of the embossed area, this is embossed resist. I like the white. I think it really shows up nicely and you can easily read that sentiment. And as I mentioned, at this point, pop this on a card front, and this could be done. I would have not put the whole reinforcer on there, but this would have been a beautiful card without, or you could, tie a bow up at the top. And yes, you could really finish this exactly like this and just put it on a card front. Okay, on the back, I have die cut another one of those A2 rectangles that I've die cut using the Simon Says Stamp dies, and I'm going to place that on the back. This is going to make this piece really nice and sturdy, almost but not quite chipboardy, but that's what I like because I think it's going to stand up nicely. I'm going to punch a hole through there, and then I did die cut an additional hole reinforcer that I will then place on the back because I like mine to be very finished. You can see that the crocodile maybe cuts a little bit smaller, but when we put that velvet ribbon in, no one's going to know. I'm going to cut a length of the velvet ribbon, leaving those tails as long as I want. I'm going to fold it in half, thread it through, and then I'll feed the ends of my ribbon through that loop like this, and we're going to carefully pull it tight. And what I liked is kind of letting that velvet ribbon do its thing. It's going to kind of tend to curl up, and I love that. I think in displays that's going to really look cute. And of course I couldn't leave it, so I'm going to grab some Lawn Fawn twine. I'm going to thread it through some Jingle Bells, thread it through the hole in the top of my tag, and then we're going to tie this into a little bow up at the top. I purposely used this crafty color of twine so that it really tied in beautifully. These little Jingle Bells from Tim Holtz are one of my favorite things every year. In fact, I need to pick up more of these because I love them. I think they're great for home deck type projects or tags, any of those little things. And there is my tag. Now I'm not done. I looked at this and I thought, you know what this could use? Glitter. So I'm going to take Glossy Accents. We're going to add it to the berries, and then I am going to put this rock candy glitter from Tim Holtz on the berries. We're not going to overly glitter up our tag, but it needs a little bit. Now this scoop is from my friend Tabitha. She sent this to me recently and I love it. It kept my fingers out of it. I usually use my fingers for that, and so I was super grateful to have that little product. I will shake off that excess. I'm going to let that glitter dry, and we'll come back and look at that tag in a minute. All right, I'm following all of the same steps for my second tag, but this time I'm using the poinsettia image, and I'm just going to start with that rectangle shape and stamp the image once on the rectangle for the tag. We're going to stamp the image again using ground espresso ink, and then we're going to color this in with our distress pencils. Now, just take your time with this, and I'll be honest, I started coloring this and I was like, am I doing this right? Does this look correct? Are these just all leaves? But I honestly, I'm so glad I persevered because it looks amazing. I love all of the reds in this. I am using a combination of Lumberjack Plaid and Festive Berries distress pencils. And I'm just going to also maybe pull in a little bit of the, I think it's the Gathered Twigs distress pencil. The brown is going to kind of help deepen and darken a few areas and just work leaf by leaf. And then we'll obviously fill in the greenery and things. Just like the first image that we did, it's only going to die cut this floral stem. So when we place this over the background, we're still going to get all of that great text. Of course, the outline from die cutting is still going to have some of that text because the text does go like in, over, and around these images. So it gives you a nice seamless effect while still popping it up and drawing that definition. We are going to pull a little bit of yellow into the center of this flower. I did add some glitter to the center, so I don't know that you can see it all that great. So I don't know that that matters, but I do like that little bit of glitter added to this one. I do want to continue to color this in just kind of to show the effect, but I am going to speed this up just a bit. That way you can still see the coloring, but a lot of it is very similar to the first image. But about this point, you can really see the flower come to life, and it's absolutely amazing. I love this. Now, my stem, I did use a combination of my Gathered Twigs and Rustic Wilderness because I wanted my stem to have a brown undertone but still have a little greenish to it. So you'll notice there's kind of both going on there. Don't be afraid to layer your colors. I even layer in the Gathered Twigs into the leaves, into the flower, as I mentioned. I love how this looks. So pretty. And 2-color leaves. So that is the Rustic Wilderness and Shabby Shutters are the 2 colors that I used for this. And I like the lighter green kind of highlights in that. Oh my gosh, look how beautiful this is. It's totally come to life. The die cuts nice, close, in and around all of those little nooks and crannies. That is exactly what I like. And once we're done, we're going to die cut this. We're going to put this tag together exactly like the first one, right down to the cancellations along the side and the bottom. We've got some extra little tags. This time I did 2 little seals. We're going to use a little North Pole signage, but very similar. I was just wanting to change up a few of the accents on top, you know, for added interest, because like I said, I want to use these in decor displays and things. And I think having multiple styles is really going to look good. We grunged up the edges with scorched timber, popping everything up with foam. Again, used the little hole reinforcers and things along the top, and finished complete with the velvet ribbon and jingle balls. I hope you guys have enjoyed these 2 vintage-inspired postage stamp-themed oversized tags. The supplies I used to create my projects are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube for your convenience. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and please be sure to check out my other video linked at the end of this one, showcasing more ideas for the Simon Says Stamp and Tim Holtz stamps and coordinating dies. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I truly love sharing creativity with this amazing community of crafters. A special thank you goes out to my wonderful Patreon members. I appreciate you all so much. If you'd like to join us on Patreon, you'll find the link in the video description below. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do and enjoy exclusive content, behind-the-scenes updates, and extra perks. There's something for everyone, and we'd love to have you join our growing community. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, click that like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.